Okay, thank you very much for a wonderful first half, and I'm going to introduce the second half. Several contributors wrote poems that kind of linked childhood to a wider political context, and I'm going to call first two readers whose poems fall into this category, Nikki Gould and Daphne Gloag. Thank you.
This is The Spoils of War. Fingers, feet, vertebrae. I count them all into this body. It's down to numbers. I close my eyes, imprint form and flesh past the curve of you. It's been weeks since I've seen the ground, as my belly stretched to fit the way you curl yourself around, swell to fill me, with the angles of your limbs projecting through my skin. I felt you grow, divide, survive. I'm sculpting you with each breath, willing every cell. 1, 2, 3, 4. My hands and I count pulses through skin, resonating with heartbeats. Yours shakes me at the edge of sleep. I'm split by your violent arrival. Your violent arrival shakes me. At the edge of sleep, I'm split by heartbeats. Yours pulses through skin, resonating with my hands. And I count 1, 2, 3, 4, sculpting you with each breath, willing every cell grow, divide, survive. I'm projecting through my skin. I felt you swell to fill me with the angles of your limbs as my belly stretched to fit. The way you curl yourself around, it's been weeks since I've seen the ground past the curve of you. I close my eyes, imprint form and flesh into this body. It's down to numbers, fingers, feet, vertebrae. I count them all.
My poem's called The Children's Charity Concert, Matter and Antimatter. It's part of a long poem sequence that has cosmology as its setting, though the focus is mainly personal. But the point here is that just after the Big Bang, particles and antiparticles repeatedly annihilated each other in bursts of energy, and this in turn created more particles and so on. But the process ended with very slightly more matter than antimatter, and that made the universe possible. So the existence of the world seems a marvellous miracle, doesn't it? Yet look what we do to it. But on the other hand, there are, of course, the wonderful things as well. Arriving at the church for the children's charity concert, we remembered the words of Richard Feynman, created and annihilated, what a waste of time. He was speaking of those particles and antiparticles at the beginning of time, annihilated in explosions of light. In the church, the children were playing for the refugees of Kosovo. Our granddaughter's long hair shone like the sheen of her violin. She did not know she was a child of that hair's breadth victory of particles over antiparticles in the early universe. Annihilation for all but a few, a final imbalance just enough for making galaxies and worlds, and at that end of time, those children and the making of their years. They played Bach and Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, not knowing what a star is or the violence of stars, not knowing they were perfected children of the violent universe, not knowing the years piled up on the scrap heaps of that country they'd raised money for. The man with his ear sawn off slowly and fed to a dog like offal. The girl with her legs torn off, her family machine-gunned, blown into darkness. So many annihilations of perfected years, but also those children in their panache of light.
The next section section of the book related to adults' relationships with and wonder at children in their lives. And from this section, we've got Sue Rose reading The Labour Room, Patricia Debney, Half Shell for Molly, and Lorraine Kashdan-Lougher, My Daughter Taught Me Gravity.
I saw my youngest niece being born, which made quite an impression. The labour room. I may have thought how strange it was that the sister I used to balance on hands and feet for acrobatic shows in the lounge, the little girl who used to dance on the wide ledge of the wet bedroom window with next door's boys, was now spread out on this trestle, her swollen sex every shade of maroon. But when the flamboyant red parted like a vertical lid, and the blind white crown of my niece appeared, when she lay between my sister's slack knees, bluish and flowery, her cry as mundane and miraculous as you could wish, and when I watched the midwife draw down the perfect lobes of the placenta with its marbled cord, exotic as a water lily, for that moment I understood everything, and the world hung ripe in my reach.
Some of you will know that I did a little residency in a beach hut last summer, and one of the things that happened is my daughter gave me some shells that she collected, and so I wrote a poem from one of them, and it's called Half Shell for Molly. A curled piece of butter, one petal, tiny seahorse mouth poking out. It's the worked dough in a soft roll you might be making, or a fancy biscuit. The shape of your grown-up thumb along one side where you might press. It's the insides of things, the beautiful what's left, the palest coral blush, what you might have slipped into your pocket at nursery, torn off wool, acorn hat, worn stick, the part of you that protects and is protected.
My daughter taught me gravity in the bath. It's something we can't live without, she said. Or chickens would fly. Though they already fly, she pointed out, when men don't clip their wings. I thought of how I wanted to silence her and wondered if she was listening. And if men don't clip their wings, then geese can fly too. But we don't want to catch our dinner with a net. And she chuckled. What would be the point, I said, of bringing her down? And I hoped she didn't listen. Then she laid her head on my wet body and closed her eyes. And I thought of saying, don't you do that, or you might drown. But I didn't.